The Tinubu administration has pushed back against allegations made by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, accusing him of distorting facts for political gain. In a statement, President Tinubu's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, refutes Atiku's assertions and defended the administration's economic policies. Contrary to Atiku's claims of the administration favoring propaganda over real investment, Ononuga highlighted significant foreign investments, including a $14 billion commitment from Indian business leaders during President Tinubu's visit to New Delhi. Addressing allegations of conflict of interest, the administration defends the first son, Sheyi Tinubu's business activities, stressing his right to pursue legitimate interests. Furthermore, it dismissed Atiku's criticisms of infrastructure projects, such as the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, as politically motivated. Abubakar had once again criticized what he called the rushed highway contract, alleging favoritism towards the Chaguri family due to the involvement of the president's son, Sheyi. However, more Nigerians are reacting to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which is currently in progress, with the demolition of properties believed to be obstructing the construction of the project. According to Oladotun Hassan, a lawyer and president Yoruba Council worldwide, I quote him, "We need to take urgent steps to rescue the helpless masses in order to avoid a repeat of Morocco displacements of ancestral communities from the Lekki corridor. In view of the abandoned high-risk and unmitigated perennial ocean surge challenges, the state government paid deaf ears for over 10 years to date, yet they are quick to demolish buildings within 7 days. By the rules, 250 meters, which is already within the covered new alignments, so presumably no one will get compensation for genuine excised land with valid CFO title that did not fall into coastal road right-of-way ab initio, only to shift goalposts with assertive authority. Regrettably, innocent victims are deceitfully and clandestinely forced to be liable to have encroached into federal government land, meaning by the 250 meters law, all communities on the beachline sides belong to the federal government. What a heartless injustice." End of quote. Oladotun Hassan, Esquire. Joining us now on this show is Oladotun Hassan, a lawyer and president Yoruba Council worldwide. Are Oladotun Hassan, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be in your program.
Okay, well, I quoted you at length. I hope you were not quoted out of context. But first, let's begin with your reaction to that Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Bearing in mind that one, the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, had pointed out that 2.75 billion naira has been paid to some of the affected businesses affected by the demolition. Number two, that the federal government is acting within the law. Number three, that due process was followed, that the matter was taken to the Bureau for Public Procurement, which gave a certificate of no objection, and the approval of the Federal Executive Council was also given. And that number four, that they followed due process with regard to the ESIA, that they got the necessary approvals, and that they had to redesign that road to make sure that the scale of demolition is minimized and that most of the buildings that will be affected along the line will be shanties and all of that and all of that. So, I mean, that's the other side of the view, but let's have your general reaction.
Well, the project, as laudable as the project is described, which is expected to be a coastal line ab initio to transverse between Lagos, Ogun, Ondo State, down to Edo, Bayelsa, and routing to the end of Calabar, which is to advance our economic potentials and develop our road networks, which are infrastructural benefit for the citizen. Regrettably, there has been a missing link. The missing link is the fact that the government has not been extremely truthful in terms of the words of the Minister of Works. The project ab initio had an alignment right of way, which was initially an ab initio excised by laws of the land, especially laws of Lagos State, which are bound, and the citizens are bound by such laws at the same time. In view of the fact that looking at the historical antecedent of the shorelines from Babish downward to Ekpe and all the other axes, there has been a lot of incremental ocean surge, which has eaten deep to over 300 meters of the preserved line that could have even given the benefit for the project. But the government did not just want to take the bull by the horn by reclamation, which ought to be their first line of duty, not demolition. The demolition exercise is a minus because it's prone the project to nosedive ab initio from the outset, because the project ought to be ruled with fanfare and acceptability. But when the government started with the demolition, picking up names and picking holes and name calling, and this must slight the entire benefit and goodwill that the project ought to have given. Most importantly, the EIA, the Economic Impact Assessment, that could have formed part of the opinion at the town hall meetings was not there. It was just like one-size-fits-all opinion that, oh, we are already grandstand to take a position. If you like, go to death or be alive. It's a do-or-die thing that the people must accept, which is not democratic in nature. And that's why I've called on the president, via the open letter to the president, that this project ought to be cautiously looked at. This project, for the fact that the project, to me, there are a lot of prerequisites as a lawyer that needs to have been achieved before today, and that is tender. If this project has followed the due process of public tender, the citizens ought to have been aware that, oh, there will be demolition, not that we just got the awareness through the resolution of the FEC, and from the resolution of the FEC, we got the realignment notice, and people wake up to see that their building, which they had C of O, will be going down without due process. And government just announcing 2.7 billion. One of about 2-3 of the properties in that axis that will be demolished is worth over 5 billion. Then if the areas the government is reserved as shanties, these are real villages, ancient towns, and villages and corridors whereby people are abode. So no one should be unjustifiably denied of their right. And that is why we believe that this is our right as citizens. And the Yoruba Council Worldwide preserve that notion that it will serve as a taint. We've had the experience of government taking over community land for other benefit and other interests, and that is the Maracol experience, and other experiences are there. In order to avoid this is a huge pitfall, because on the government alignment, there have been a lot of documents that are preserved, presumably focused and being showed that there has been an alignment preserved in the Surveyor General's office since year 2006, and that document is still alive. If government ought to do anything, and federal government claiming 250 meters into whatever land that belongs to them is unjustifiably, it's an injustice. That is unlawful. It is not necessarily becoming, maybe because of the 250 meters claim, and I've raised it in my opinion, that the 250 meters that they are claiming should be reclamation first. If they reclaim the over 3,000 meters or shoreline, then we can now talk about the way forward. But as at now, the president needs to exercise a lot of patience and caution his Minister of Work, that is Mr. Dave Umahi, from going into this obnoxious tax.
All right, Hassan, thank you so much. We hear you, and I have a copy of the letter that you've written to the president, copying a number of other personalities, departments, and governments. I want to ask you, in terms of the Okwaja community and these shanties you talk about, because according to the Minister of Works, not a lot of buildings will be affected, and they've said that they've paid up to 2.7 billion naira. That's not all they're going to pay. And in the course, they are going to adequately compensate people who've had their buildings perhaps demolished. But I'd like you to share with us a bit more about these shanties you talk about, because in your letter, you seem to also represent them quite strongly, that there's quite a thriving community on this axis. Were they involved in terms of consultation, town hall meetings? Did you have the opportunity to attend that meeting, town hall with the Minister of Works, the last one you had in Lagos? Were you able to share your concerns with him, and has there been any response since then? I'd really like to speak to the communities who will be affected by this, and also if there have been any response following your petitions or your complaints or letters that you've written.
Well, we are yet to get a response as regards our open letter and direct letter to the various offices. We even called the IG to investigate this issue, and as well the DSS, because of the security implication this will bring about. In view of that, the town hall meeting that were being called was just mere just wanting to have a covering the field opinion that, oh, let's just do it for the mere sake of doing it, which opinions were never collated properly. There were agitations in that hall that same day. Twice the meeting had been held. Even we watched on your news, you saw protestations, even while monies 2.something billion were being displayed and shared through dummy checks. This, to me, calls for concern. And what we are practicing is democracy, meaning the people must come first. And I believe the president is a democratic person who harbors to abide and to honor, to show that rule of law is the opium of democracy and not rule of force. And when oppression of man by man becomes the order of the day, it will lead to impunity, injustice, cries, deceit, and these are the views that will manifest our international identity before the community of world nations. So for me, what we are looking at is the fact that the concerned stakeholders, there are some communities from Okun-Afa to Okun-Aja to Eleko to Ayetoro, even Ayetoro in Ogun State, Ise, along Ibejuleki, all these communities are affected brutally. And for the fact that the government is just picking just a few number of people from Lagos, I believe that town hall meeting ought to cut across the 8 states at once, so that let everybody knows where this whole thing will end. So that government should not haphazardly thinking is solving a problem. At the end of the day, it's opening another cancerous problem. And government should not see it as an ethnic issue. And these are critical factors that is bedeviling the goodwill of the project.
Okay.
Let this project follow that harmonious, valid opinion of everyone. Let the government not be too hasty to start a project that at the end of the day will be met with brick walls of litigations and every other factors along the same line. So people will be benefited, will benefit from the shift of goalposts, but we want justice to be manifested, anything to be done.
Okay, I want to ask you this question. And please, I want you to think properly before you answer it. Before this last town hall meeting, did they ever call people from these communities that you've mentioned, Okwaja, Ayetoro, and some other communities, as part of the initial negotiations for an environmental impact assessment? Do the people ever tell you, before this last town hall, that they were sharing money and all of that? Did they ever call the people before now?
Well, everything came like a rapture. When it's like a rapture, like you just came about to just see you being overtaken by a new information, and that begins to create fears and scampering. You will also how the medias have been interpreting and putting out issues and information. There have not been any any town hall meetings before now.
So
the
this
only
was the first
belief
one, right?
Is the fact that
So this was the first one.
right of way alignment, which people that
Okay.
yes,
So this
yes,
was the
that's
first one. This is the first
And
time they called the
sharing of money
community.
was
I'd like to read
second.
a letter to
Yes.
you, sir.
Yes, that's the first time.
This is the first time, and I just wanted to get some facts right. So, because you speak for all these communities, and if they were not called and they are supposed to be part of the environmental impact assessment, then there's a problem. So, I'd like to read a letter to you. A letter was dated on the 18th of April. Invitation for letter for scoping workshop for ESIE and RAP studies of Lagos-Calabar, where they said all stakeholders for the first 7.5 kilometers were supposed to meet. I understand too that this Okwaja community will be affected in the first 47 kilometers when it goes up to Ibejuleki. So did they ever tell you that they were called for any meeting on the 20th of April 2024? Did they ever mention that prior to this last meeting that Umahi met with them? Did they ever mention that they were called for any meeting prior? Because let me tell you what I want to do. I want to establish a case for due diligence in the environmental impact assessment. Because if the Minister of State for Environment, representing the government, said they have granted preliminary approval without involvement of the stakeholders, like you and this community you're speaking for, then there's a big problem. So that's why I just want to get the facts right. Were they ever called for any meeting? Even this 20th of, what is it called, meeting, before now, 20th of April meeting. So were they ever called for any meeting by the government on this project?
Because there was none open to the public. The one of the town meeting that was called was as a result of the 7 days pandemonium and as a result of the cries of the people. And that led to the town hall meeting. It was a necessity call that gave birth to that meeting. And we expect that meeting ought to galvanize the entire opinion of the people. But at the end of the day, the government formed on behalf of the people a reconciliatory committee, or how did they go about it? The community themselves, the ballers of those communities, they are key stakeholders that these are ancestral communities where the minister is calling shanties. These are graveyards of ancestors of some people. These are areas, and I believe the minister is also from a village in Ebonyi State. He cannot allow his ancestral village to be wiped out as a result of a statement calling them shanties. That is even an insult. In Yoruba land, you don't just call a community, oh, shanties, because you are watching from the helicopter and you believe those buildings, so far they are not skyscraper. They are also have the same rights those that build skyscraper have. So what we are saying here is not to demonize the government and say, oh, what the government is doing. It's for the government to put human face. The government is communicating, but their communication is just one-sided. Whatever the government wants is what they want the people to accept. And that is not going down well with the people. They need to sit down. Let it be a communal debate. Let us see. It is not that the project should not come alive. I've given a solution. Let the government reclaim the ocean surge. 3,000 meters it was eaten, and some of these places are better off. These are villages that have been wiped out. I personally have been part of the Ocean Surge community reclamation agitation. We've written to Fashola when he was the minister. We've written to previous government for them to come into the aid of the people. The governor have been there, the senators have been there to see what is the height of disaster that the people are currently facing from nature. Aside the nature war, human war is now confronted against the people now. And it's better we solve the human problem. Personally, so to me, I just want to see that this is a communal value problem that we are solving. And as the president of Yoruba Council Worldwide, I'm not saying that the fact that the president, we gave him all the support, this is a better way we can caution and guide our president. He's the president for all Nigerians. And for the fact that this area occupies mostly the southwestern corridors to the south-south, it requires and behoves that the Honorable Minister carry everybody along. In that same resolution committee, the entire people that are there are from Lagos. But for the fact that beyond Lagos, how are they going to keep solving this monumental challenge before them? Ministers should not just be quick to blame either landmark or abuse on making political. It's beyond political. It is not about Peter Obi, it is not about anybody, it's about the people. And the people matters a lot. And it's about, it's just something that needs to be attended to by the president. We love the president, let the president show that love. But the fact that the president is saying that, oh, if they need to mitigate the right of way, people that are built on the right of way should be prosecuted. And those are the people that should fall into this quagmire, not the innocent people that bought genuinely a land that we see of war and tied to document. Is a violation of their right, violation of their values of citizenship right. So we just believe that beyond the doling out of money without proper assessment, how do you assess within 7 days? How do you carry out your enumeration of the total population? These are millions of people living within the corridors. 7 days is not enough to do that. So extension of demolition and carrying out demolition without due process of ending this quagmire will be confronted with multiple crises before the project get alive. And this is what we want to avert, and we're advising the president to be cautious enough.
Okay, a number of things by way of clarification. Number one, Senator David Umahi, the Minister of Works, has said, in fact, they are to redesign that road to minimize demolitions. One of the points I made earlier on. Two, he also made it clear that this is federal government road. The right of way that you are talking about from the land border inwards, I think about, it's actually about 220 meters. It used to be 200 meters. It used to be 200, it's now 220. Yes. But they are talking about 250.
Yes.
Under various laws, the International Convention on the Law of the Sea, on clause 1, on clause 2, or maybe on clause 3, the one of 1994. Supreme Court decision, also the federal government case with the littoral states on another matter entirely, on the section 162 of the 1999 Constitution. So, I mean, the federal government has provided authority to explain that, look, this is our land, and we are entitled to that right of way. However, you are talking about reclamation. When you talk about reclamation along the coastline, how about costs? Because there's also a cost dimension to it. Because you make it seem as if, oh, government can just go and reclaim the sea and create a road. This is engineering. It's not just that easy. That's one. Two, is it not that government can take over land as long as it can establish that it is doing so in the public interest? Are you saying that this Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, the overriding interest is not public interest, it is something else, as some people are arguing? Is there any public interest coefficient in all of this?
Yeah, I would, by the definition of the project itself is for public interest, and that should be clear and sound to everyone. It's just the approach to it that belittles reasoning. And for that 250 meter, because the way the minister is talking about law and law and law, there are applicable rights of way that even there is an applicable setback that government for road within the community is 60 meters. There are some that is of 15 meters within streets. There are some that is of 150. There are some that is not even up to 200. So the federal government cannot just say because, oh, I built here, then they own the land. That means you should know when we're talking about ownership. Government needs to wear human face. We can only say this under a military setup, not under democratic living that we are today. And the world is advancing. These are going to serve as a prelude that will become so historical and testimonial for the minister to read in the future. That if for us to really do something, we need to sit with our people. We need to understand that these are trying times. It's not as easy for someone to put up resources together, build a house, and for government to come, oh, I'll offer you 2 million for a house worth of 100 million, or do I just, based on the government, on the federal government assessment, meaning there's no further, and whatever the government gives you, you don't have right to say no. So this is really like shocking the the truth of the citizens. And that is why we are guiding Mr. President that if it were to be that perimeter that the government wants to go through to assert right, we have been on the agitation. Shorelines that the government initiated, they've done it in the Lekki, in the Eco-Atlantic. They reclaimed vast number of land back to the sea, getting the established right that Babish used to own. But you know how much vast of land that place have reclaimed. Why can't the government do the needful? Definitely going to be on a JV with the community. Let this be a robust relationship. Let's not be too hasty like, oh, in Africa we are just not good at doing anything better. Let's get it right. Let's put human face to this project. It's laudable. I must commend the project. For the project to come alive is laudable. But the entire intrigue that is bedeviling the project is numerous. And that is why I challenged it ab initio that there was never a public tender to this project. If there had been public tender, the contractor ought to have known ab initio that yes, it's going to salvage people's life. Does he have the capacity to rescue to mitigate the risk of the people? Is there a bank vault or insurance that people need to see down? You cannot just go and give a house to somebody who's already, you must carry out the insurance corporate company along. There must be a lot of sit out. For us to achieve all these things, it's not a matter of, it's not a dash. It's a process. And this process must be a circumference that must be done justifiably. Once these things are met, there's nobody stopping Mr. President. Then at the same time, the costing analysis of the project must be succinct, must be transparent, so that this project cannot be mistook for SPV. Let this project have a life of its own. Let this project be that monumental value that will come back in future that will say, oh, Asiwaju, you have done great. We know that he has a vision to create that infrastructure road network. But this same project that they are putting much energy, yes, they can as well dissipate the energy on other roads. We have the Ife roads, we have the Osogbo roads, we have other roads in other inner expressway that requires government attention at the same time. These things can be done simultaneously. So that everybody will not mistook it that the government is having a special interest on the project.
All right. Thank you so much, Are Oladotun Hassan, for your take on the controversial, if I can put it that way, Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Thank you for your time this morning.